All right.
Peace. This is Daddio from the legendary hip hop band Stetsasonic, and you're watching Getting the Gig.
Yes, indeed. Man, I've been a fan of Daddy-O since, I found you right around your third album. And
Okay.
I play drums and love hip hop. So, of course, when I
Okay.
thought, wait, there's a hip hop band and it's Stetsasonic. And so I've been an instant fan since then. But what I will say about you is a few things that your career has spanned not only your creations within Stetsasonic and as a solo artist, rapper, but you've also been a label executive. You've really been in the game for so long and you've seen every facet of it from one end to the other and all the way through. Um, if there was ever somebody on this show who needs no introduction, it's Daddy O is for the only, Chief is for relief. Uh,
Thank you.
Battling him is a gamble. And all of that is to say, yo, Daddy O, I think you the man. I've been
Thank
waiting
you,
since
sir.
blood, sweat, and no tears to say that to you.
But yeah, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Do you want to divulge where you are?
I'm in Hawaii right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, what you're joining us from Hawaii. That means you get around and you be wherever you want to be, wherever sparks your creativity. Are you being creative out there?
Yeah, I just so I had an idea for this album. I guess I'm calling it an album. So I just got it like last night. Like I had the pieces. I was messing around with the sequencing. And I'm like, oh, this doesn't work. Then I cut this new record and it helped me. And so now I got it.
Okay.
Yeah, I got it
So
now.
so the concept came to you last night. You got the whole record.
Well, no.
Now
The
it's a matter of
concept
filling
was
in the
there.
details.
I came up with this idea. It's called No Lifeguard on Duty. I think I'm gonna do a series of them, but it's called No Lifeguard on Duty. Simple premise. Ain't nobody coming to save y'all. I'm tired of whatever's going on. So gloves off, right? No lifeguard
Yeah.
on duty. And so I already had the concept. I already had the records, but like some of the sequencing wasn't really I mean, it was feeling okay, but it wasn't feeling like it needed to. And then like last night I cut a record and it kind of changed what I could do with everything.
Mm, okay. Since your career has spanned everything in the business,
Right.
um, has that influenced your creativity?
I think I think I think I was creative before like anything else, right? So that's what kind of drew me to whatever else I did after that. Being creative, right? I started off in East New York rapping, and I just want to be the best rapper in East New York. I don't even want to be the best rapper in New York at that point. It's just my neighborhood. I want to make that happen. And so I think the creativity started
Yeah.
then. I think the creativity is probably the spark for all the executive stuff and all the rest of it because I wrote an article for American Express and then Mashable picked it up a few years ago called five things your business could learn from a rapper. And I talked to them about putting your creative people first because if you put your lawyers first, they're going to get picked off. But if you put I'm old school,
Yeah.
so I told them about Wild Wild West and the way Jim West would make something work. You know what I mean? And that's what your creative people are. Like we will figure out how to get it done because we want to get it done. Whereas some of the upper stiffs and some of the suits, it's all in a block. So if it doesn't work in that block, then it doesn't get done. And so I think the creative
Yeah.
thing is probably more of a spark for the executive thing than the other way around. Influence, I don't know. I mean, my rapping influence comes from rappers. So it don't matter if it's Rod Wave, Kumo D, or Drake. I don't care. My rapping influence comes from rappers. But um, I don't know. I guess traveling helps to widen the perspective for writing, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, yes, of course. Uh, I really want to connect that message though to people who don't travel much, because those of us who get around a little bit, your horizons get expanded and your eyes get opened. And if you don't travel much, you don't know what you're missing, I feel like. So, um, but let's rewind all the way back to the beginning and talk about how you got into music in the first place.
Well, I think um part of it is environmental, right? Like in terms of what's happening at that time. And then the other is like just the desire of, like listening to music, growing up listening to music. My mama, my siblings listening to music, me listening to music, having 45s around the house. So, that was like, music was our life. There was no internet. TV went off at 12 o'clock. And so, the music became our friends, right? We used to stare at album covers like they was gonna come alive. So there was always that music thing. I think, you know, when I got into hip hop, it was because of the way it sounded.
Yeah.
I like the way Melly Mel and all of them from the Bronx was sounding, and I was like, I want to try that. You know what I mean? And so that's what really kind of got me into it. And then it was just, it was really all hip hop, really no music business stuff, just, showing up at contests and, trying to rap on mics and, rapping in block parties and stuff like that. But those contests got us a record deal, and
Yeah.
then
So
now once we got a record deal, now it becomes like music business.
yeah. Well, so then as a label executive, as a record executive, did you ever think, man, I ought to throw a contest? Or did
Uh,
you?
Well, I think I no, I never did that. Like, I think I'm a big fan of times. What do I mean by that? Like, I think eras are made for eras, right? So 80s are 80s and 90s are 90s and stuff like that. And so I never really looked at it the way it was for us because it was so new that it made sense for those labels to throw contests to find artists. That's how new this art form was. And how else was they going to find it besides for going hanging out in clubs, which is probably dangerous for them to hang out, right? So the only way they could bring these kids out, if you bring them out on a competitive level, whether it's money, whether it's a record deal, whether it was ever, especially if it's a record deal, because you're going to get the creme de la creme. If it's a record
Right.
deal, they all gonna try to compete because it's like, okay, I don't have to make no demo, I don't have to do nothing. This record company's gonna sign me. So, but I think that was good for that time. I think by the time I began, like when I became inside the building and I'm a record executive now, I never really thought about it like that. I never really thought because I think I think for us the contest worked because it was hip hop, right? It wasn't
Mhm.
like all genres, like singers, dancers, everything. It was just hip hop. It was just a rap contest. So I think that that's why that worked that way because it was just that kind. It's a concentrated effort, and again because it was brand new and that was a way to find artists. By the time I became an executive, artist was already making demos on their own and shopping them to record labels and stuff like that. So it was different.
They were coming to you.
Yeah, basically.
Okay. So now once you got your record deal, this was this sort of catapulted you. And I remember hearing you had some choices. It wasn't just that you had won a contest and then you signed the contract following that contest. It was like that contest garnered you enough attention that you could go around and make some choices. Is that true?
Um, well, we always say, we won first, second, and third prize because there were three. There was a first prize, a second prize, and a third prize, and all three of
Mhm.
those labels wanted us. So we did have choices because all three of those labels wanted us. We just ended up going with Tommy Boy, but the other two labels wanted us as well.
Okay. Okay. Who were the other two labels? One of them was Sugar Hill.
One was Sugar Hill, and the other one was Pop Art. Lawrence Goodman.
Pop Art.
He had a group. Yeah, had a group called the Youngsters. But you remember, Pop Art was Lawrence signed Salt and Pepper first, and some other people.
Okay. But you
Yeah,
went with
Lawrence was.
Tommy Boy.
Yep.
Was that an educated business decision? Did you know what you were
We went
doing?
with We went with Tommy Boy because the Sugar Hill thing was crap. Like they handed us a crap like contract that it just didn't make sense for us to sign.
Mm.
And we thought Tommy Boy probably had more um experience like with hip hop. Like for us, Stetsasonic, we just like hip hop. We want to be hip hop. So I think that that was a big thing to us. That the hip hop, that they understood hip hop. And it felt more
Yeah.
like Tommy Boy understood hip hop, the genre, the culture, more than just, oh, they just want to make records on the rappers. It felt like that to us anyway.
Wow. That's pretty interesting to hear that Tommy Boy. I mean, it's not a surprise, but it almost sounds like you're saying that Sugar Hill was out of touch by then.
I don't think they were out of touch. I think they knew what they were doing, but I mean, who knows? To be fair and think about hindsight, maybe we could have negotiated the deal we wanted to at Sugar Hill. But
Mhm.
you're talking about us kids won a contest, looking at, oh wow, this contest is gonna garner us a record deal. There's probably not enough, and I'll talk to the guys about it and ask them, but there's probably not enough like chutzpah in us that say we want to go back and forth with Sugar Hill to make sure that the contract's right. We probably will want to go to somebody that's receiving and understanding and all those things because now we want to get on to making these records.
Right. Not
So
negotiating contracts, being creative.
yeah, so I don't know if it's so much of them being out of touch as much as that's the way they did business. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
and that wasn't the kind of business we wanted to do.
Mm. Talk about Stetsasonic and why the hip hop band approach, because hip hop at the time didn't have any bands. You were the original hip hop band, and I thought it was a glaring gap in what could be, but somehow that wasn't getting through to most everybody else until you stepped in and brought the band. How did that come about?
Well, I always tell people the Stetsasonic being a hip hop band is not rocket science, right?
Mhm.
It's that we had internal producers at the time in hip hop, a lot of music anyway. People had assigned producers, right? Producers that's going to make your music. And it was usually outside of the art, right? Even if you go back to 60s, Motown was making the music. It wasn't the Temps or the Four Tops, right? And that kind of continued on, right? Even throughout hip hop. Marley was
Mm.
the guy's producer, or so and so was the guy, or Larry Smith was the producer, or you know what I mean, or Curtis Blow was the producer. Like a lot of times you didn't have a lot of self-contained machines. I'm not saying that they didn't exist, but you didn't have a bunch. We were, because of Prince Paul and DBC, we already had equipment, right? Because of
Uh-huh.
him and then Bobby coming on with the drums. We already had, and we're making that. So, you know, the first thing we think is, how the hell do we perform this? We say we take everything on stage and just play it.
Yes. Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Just take everything we got here, making this stuff, take it up on stage and play it on stage. And that's the no, not rocket science. It's really not right. It's not like, oh man, there's a gap. It wasn't any of that. It's just that we were just an internal, we still are a very internal mechanism where we can do everything ourselves. We got
Okay.
producers, we have this in the group, we got that in the group, guys got equipment. And this is way back, way before digital stuff. Guys had equipment and all of that. So we could get stuff done without asking nobody. A lot of people didn't even
Yeah.
have a drum machine or a drummer or somebody with a keyboard. So they would have to go rent time or book time, or, they have to ask people. We didn't have to ask nobody nothing. We just made what we wanted to make.
Yeah. Yeah. So was your collaborations, let's say with Prince Paul specifically, because he's, such a prolific producer now, but back then you could make music with him because he had the equipment, or did the acquisition of equipment happen because the two of you were making music together
No,
already?
no, no. Paul was already a genius when we met him.
Huh.
Paul was already a genius. He was so self-contained. The records was there. Russell still gets mad at me because Russell stole Paul sent us a demo to be in our group. There's a record Russell got with Andre. It's on the B side of one of those singles. He stole Paul's whole thing. He to this day argues that he does. Paul was already a self-contained monster. I don't mean that in a bad way, but just a
Yeah, yeah.
beautiful soul and everything. But he already knew. I don't really think it's a whole bunch of new stuff Paul did. I think he all had that all in his head. It just had to have time to roll out. But I don't think it
Yeah.
just, I should do this. I don't think it's like that. I think these are things that Paul wanted to do because that's the way he is. That's the way he was with us. That's the way, he's the one that taught us, listen, we're going to write down 30 album titles and we're going to pick 10.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's
Yeah.
Paul. You know what I mean? That's Paul. And he had equipment, and DBC had equipment. And so they was already making stuff that me, the other ones of us, Bobby don't rap, Fuquan's there, I'm there, Wise there, Delight there. They was already making stuff that we're gonna want to rap to. Like, you know what I mean? And then if we want
Yeah.
something made, like if it's like a sample we used to listen, or not sample, but they saying sample now, but a song breakbeat that we used to listen to in the park, we could go to them and say, yo, can we do this? And then they'll do it. You know what I mean? Like I said, we didn't have to ask for permission, like because we had producers. A lot of people didn't have
Right.
that. A lot of people didn't have that.
That's amazing to hear. So, as Stetsasonic progressed, if you ask me, I mean, you guys are legendary, but I didn't feel like the world knew as much of you as I thought you deserved. I mean, I was so excited about Stetsasonic because I play the drums.
Right,
And
right.
here was a hip hop band. This was everything I wanted. How come everybody isn't as excited about this as I want them to be? You know what I mean? And your reception commercially speaking, your reception was okay, but I wanted it to be a lot bigger. What was your take on it?
Well, I think two it's two part. Maybe it's more than two, but I have two. So one is the just the whole ideology of being ahead of your time, right? Like it's something that you all gotta, Clinton went through it. A bunch of people went through a whole bunch of that. Just being ahead of your time. Like, yes, you're big, yes, you're popular, but you're not like what the guys at the top of the chart are. You know what I mean?
Right.
Um, but and probably just because there's some advance, like you're forward thinking. So that's one. I think that the other thing is, it's the time. It's, I'm sure if Tom Silverman was a rich man, we would have blown beyond measure.
Mm.
But we had to do it within Tommy Boy's budget. And I mean, I know as a business owner, um,
You got to work with
it
what you
ain't,
got.
oof. I mean, the Crush Groove story is real. That
Yeah.
that you got all these records out, it's hitting boom boom, but then they only turn it take them 90 days to pay you. And it's
Right.
always 90 days from that release, right? That's why they try to have a record store day and the day they release it all, because then at least all of that comes back in 90. You release something a week later, it's 90 days from that week later.
Man.
You know what I mean? So like a lot of times people don't talk about what a lot of these independent labels, the sleeping bags, the selects, the profiles went through around that time. You know what I mean? You know, Corey was lucky because Corey had Run DMC and Run Blue. And by the time Run Blue, now he had a ship to float something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Tommy caught a little wave with Naughty around there. You know what I mean? That he could, that's way after us, but you know what I mean? He could float something, but man, that ain't no man, that ain't no man, that ain't no. Why do you think like the proof that it ain't no joke is how all of these independents end up with a major distributor down the line. And in the beginning, that was taboo. In the
Aha.
beginning, none of them wanted no dude. They wasn't the majors was turning us down. Why you think we was signing the Tommy Boy? Couldn't just go to
Yeah.
Warner get signed, go to RCA get signed. Oh, y'all not music, y'all get out of here. Da, da, da. Boom. It was only those small independents.
Right.
But all those small independents ending up under like a major umbrella, like you never thought that was gonna happen, but it ended up happening because they just got sucked in. But in the beginning, it wasn't that, and it's tough because again, people forget and it's I guess it's fair, but when people talk about music, you probably don't hear money parallel. You might hear money parallel when they talk about like the new rappers. All they talk about is money and hoes and da. You might hear money, but you never really hear money conversations parallel to the music business, like the general public talking about music. But it takes a budget. It doesn't matter if it's 2026 or 1926. It takes a budget. Something's got to make something float. It just doesn't float automatic. People think music is magic and it just floats. Nope. Doris Day had help. Bing Crosby had help. Michael Jackson had help. We all had help. Everybody had help. We got great songs,
Wow.
but we needed some lift. We needed some this. We needed some that, and it worked. The teams worked. Everything worked. It worked out. And one of the reasons that some of the music is so crappy now is because there's no help. These guys are making this stuff in their bedroom, and nobody's saying that's good, that's not, that's rude. Then nobody's saying nothing, and that's
Yeah.
sad.
Wow.
Because with us, I tell people all the time, we did a record called Self Destruction. I say, you want to talk about self destruction? You can't talk about self destruction unless you talk about Ann Carly and Nelson George. If you're not going to mention them two, don't talk to me about Daddy O and Chuck D and KRS One and Dougie Fresh. I don't want to hear about us. Because if it wasn't for Nelson and Ann Carly, that record wouldn't have happened. Everything they made it all happen. They got Ralph to give us the free video. They did it all. And people, that's the difference between now music and the teams we had back then was some beasts. Ask anybody, talk to special ed, talk to anybody from my time, and ask them about the people in their record company. They say, "Oh yeah, she was a go getter. She got me this. She got me." I'm telling you, he was a go
Yeah.
getter.
Making
He's the
something
first
for
one that
nothing.
showed me. Yeah, but
Wow.
it's tough when you're doing it on your own. It's tough. I know. I have an independent imprint, and it's not the easiest thing in the world. It's not.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking about floating things too, and that's really the hardest part is not to have the capital that
Yeah,
that a major label has.
yeah.
So let's say you took Stetsasonic because you're talking about eras, and if you took Stetsasonic and inserted them into the current climate, which is a lot less about, because of streaming, not capitalizing on you not able to make money off of moving units like you could back then, but most acts make their money on the road. Being a hip hop band, do you think that would have been a huge advantage for Stetsasonic if you'd Stetsasonic right now?
Well, I mean, we put out an album in 2025. Still a great record. Got a couple of more videos coming from that. We headlining the festival coming up in the Netherlands in about a month. Um, I think we're still there. I think that here's what I think, and this is what has happened. So I have an imprint, Oh Dad Truth. I've been making Daddy O records on Oh Dad Truth since 2016, right? So I probably did. 7 albums, something like that, about 28, 29 videos, something like that. But then like around 2021 or something, I signed Stet. Oh, just kind of put Stet, and we did the first Stet record, and then eventually we did an album. We got like 7 Stet videos as well. But uh, I don't want to say sad to say, but I will say to say, Daddy-O and Stetsasonic are guinea pigs for what needs to be done because no one has figured it out. Kane hasn't
Mm.
figured it out. LL hasn't figured it out. I could keep going and going and going. Light hasn't figured. Nobody's figured it out. So we are taking the type of chances that we think needs to be taken because we think our audience needs to be cultivated. We experience going to an airport, having a new record out, and somebody singing Sally or somebody singing Africa.
Yeah.
Same thing happens with Snoop. Snoop puts out 2 albums in 2025, but somebody sees him at an airport and they singing Gin and Juice. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Like they don't even know where to find out music, all of that. So we're working on that. So like in terms of the timing, the 2026, 2027, a lot of it is just what we can get out of what we have and seeing. You know what I mean? Everything's different. The thing I do advise young people to do, and I'm preaching to the choirs, things that we need to get better at is do .coms. You know, try to have a place where people could go and find your stuff. Realize that you don't own your Instagram page, you don't own your Facebook page, you don't own any of those things. Do your own platform. Try to get that done because 10 loyal fans is better than 100 fake ones.
Wow. Yeah, you said some profound things. I don't want to just brush past them because a lot of people do concentrate on their socials. And a lot of people, some people are making money on their socials, but they don't own them.
Yeah, and I mean, other products make money much more than music on socials.
Hmm.
Like you don't have many musicians that say, "Oh yeah, it's because of this." Yes, you can use it as a hub for communication. It's a great place for that. I've actually met some dope MCs on Instagram.
Hmm.
Just somebody like my post, and then I look at them and I'm like, "Oh, let's do a record together." Blah blah blah. So I think that's fly. Um,
Yeah.
but I don't think you have a bunch of musicians that's like, oh, my socials are making me money. Yeah, products. Of course, you're gonna make money on products, but it's a different situation. So I just think that musicians have to take a little more a little more control of the reign if they want to be that. If they don't, excuse me, if they don't want to be that, no harm, no foul. I can't make you do what you don't want to do, whatever. But I think musicians should take a little bit more of the reign.
Mm. Okay. Is there something that you've learned in the illustrious career that you've I was going to say enjoyed, but more like endured in some of those moments, I'm sure. But is there something specifically that you've learned that would point you in a uh, different direction if you were a young artist right now?
No, I think I got all the right. I think my lessons was right. Um, I do say that the old the old lessons I learned in the music business remind me of like when you get older and you start quoting your mama and your daddy. My mama
Mm,
always said, "Don't leave. Leave well enough alone," and she always said, "Better safe than sorry." And then you get older and you figure that those work. My old music business things are still true. A hit song is still a hit song. I don't care what nobody say. They want to talk algorithm, all of that. They wrong. A hit song is a hit song.
yeah, yeah.
I,
You
I
can know
learned
all
that.
the
I learned
algorithm
that.
stuff.
I learned that when I was a kid, and I believe it to this now. A hit song is a hit song.
Uh,
I'm telling you.
is there, okay, speaking of a hit song, if you hear something in somebody and it's a nugget that sounds like, man, you got to hit somewhere in there, but then they move in a different direction. Do you guide them back to where you think that hit is, or is there a line where you say, "Look, I got to let the artist be the artist and free of my influence"? In other words, there's what you're envisioning for commerce and what the artist might be envisioning for originality. Is there a balance to be struck there?
Um, so I do quite a bit of artist development, and my 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 artist development philosophy is always, I say, I book a rehearsal studio. I say bring everything you got, all the CDs, all your old records, all the everything. And I sit there and I have them, if they know them, I have them sit there and perform all the stuff. They old records, the stuff they just wrote, see how confident they are spitting stuff, all of that. And what I try to do is make the best out of what they already are. If a person's not a dancer, I'm not saying, oh, I'm going to get a little choreographer and teach them how to dance. If they're not a dancer, they're not a dancer. I
Mm.
learned some people are runners. I've taught quite a few guys to be runners. That the Buster, most notably the Buster Rhymes, the LL Cool J, the one end of the stage. How to do. I've taught people to be runners. I've taught people to be walkers. That's more the Jay-Z, Run DMC thing. I've taught people to be ventures like the Scarface thing where you bring out a stool, and you know what I mean. So it depends on what they are and how to make them. I think that when it comes down to your question, um I think it kind of got to be whatever that music is, it has to be, because if it could be, and I might be going out on a little limb here, but if it could be misguided in the first place, then maybe it wasn't guided in the first place, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Okay.
You shouldn't be able to get in there. Like, I can't see somebody getting in there and making Prince change his flow. How do you do? Or getting in there and making Jackie Wilson change his flow. Like, no, that's not. Or making Frank Sinatra's change his flow. Like, it's not gonna happen. Like, no, we're not doing that.
Okay. How about we punctuate that point by saying Aretha Franklin? Because when Aretha Franklin was on CBS, they were trying to make her sing in front of an orchestra, and that's not what she needed to be doing. Is that
Yeah,
along the
I
lines of what you're
think.
saying?
Yeah, I do think it's along the lines of what I'm saying, and I think that it, it has to be the artist. You want to know why? Because of what she comes from and what she did with those artists and with the Muscle Shoals stuff and all of that. She
Mm-hmm.
knows the difference. She knows the difference. She knows the difference. She knows the difference. So then we kind of got to look at the artist and say, okay, you know what? This is the choice that the artist made. And the artist made this choice to say yes, because I say it all the time. There's all of this. I haven't heard much recently, but usually the conversations come up and people are like, oh yeah, back in the day, we got jerked by a record company and all of that. That people used to talk about that a lot, especially about like '80s rappers and stuff. And I said we signed a contract.
Yeah.
Like what what I'm saying, what about that part? Like, what about the part that we signed the contract? Like, we making it feel like somebody put a gun to our head and made us sign, and that wasn't it. We were eager, we wanted to do it, we knew we wanted to have a record out, we boom boom, and it doesn't matter which group it was or which soloist was, they signed the contract. If you want to come back years later and say, oh, I signed a bad contract, it's probably true, but you the one that signed the contract.
Wow. So, among all the other lessons that we've learned from the professor, uh, accountability for oneself, it starts there. The artist got
Oh
to be the
yeah.
artist. They have to understand their own identity.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if we artists, you never really, and I'm a guy, I grew up, listening to '70s music and the little '80s. Um, um, I'm a guy who I never really saw artists play the victim, and the only time they did was in their records, right? So the Persuaders might have made, you know, it's a thin line between love and hate, and their victim in that record, but you never really saw the outward imagery of artists as these victims. You always saw them as superstars. Always, always, always. People always saw artists as superstars, always something to aspire to, always something to make them happy. Even if it was Millie Jackson, they still looked up to her. You know what I mean? And so the idea of an artist like, oh, they jerk me, oh, they put me down, oh, they this, like, that's not what I got when I was a kid. And that it gets weird for me because first of all, you may be deterring that next young drummer or that next young guitarist from even doing it because you want some,
Yeah.
and so, he already got to get it from his parents.
Yeah,
Right?
that's
He
true.
already got to get it from his parents. So, like, why he getting it from you too? And you in the business,
Yeah, nobody wants to
you
look
should
for
be in.
that.
Yeah, you should be inspiring him.
That's right.
So,
So
you know what I
along
mean?
those lines, you
No,
have
go ahead.
developed many people's careers. How is there, do you think there's an inherent responsibility for artists to help develop the next generation? Is that something that people should be mindful of? Is that a responsibility once you've succeeded?
I mean, I think I look at it the same way. It's a funny parallel, right? I used to say years ago, people used to get mad at, like, say, Run DMC and a few other artists. Oh, why they not talking like you? Why they not talking like Chuck? Why they not talking like KRS-One? And I used to say, you know what? If I say something and it's unbeholden to my community or I'm breaking the community law, s- come at me. If Chuck does that, go at Chuck. If Chris does that, go at Chris. And I always tell people, y'all forget about speech. If speech does that, go at speech. But we're the ones that took that on as a responsibility. Leave Run alone. He never said it. If he want to make records about hoes and bitches and stuff, that's Run. That's what he does. It's those of us that take on those responsibilities. So do I think it should be universal? I probably don't because I don't think everybody got it in them. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like everybody don't have boss in them. You know, I know that. I grew up in East New York. I know what that's like. For somebody to walk in a room and own it, and somebody to walk in the room and go in the corner because he feel like if they call me out, I might be running to the store for cigarettes all night. You know what I mean? Like some people are made like that. So I don't know if everybody should take that responsibility. I do think that there's a hard to say, but I do think that there should be some rhyming standard. And I think when people not rhyming right, either you call them out or who knows, maybe you call them to the stage. But like I think we started off like that. I think we really did, and then we ended up with great records like Rakim's Lyric of Fury and Joski Loves Pee Wee Dance, and we just ended up with all these great records because cats was not playing, man. They wasn't,
Yeah.
man. They was that man. Me and my friends talk about Run DMC, Daryl and Joe. Like, man, if you mention Daryl and Joe to anyone, we go, like, come on, man, take all the air out, man. You know what I mean? Like Cats was Cats was making some Houdini. What is Friends, bro? That's beyond phenomenal, bro.
Yeah.
You know
Do
what I
you
mean?
think,
It's like,
are you saying that exists a lot less now, that people are
oh yeah.
afraid to get up to the
Well,
mic and get roasted?
I think analog energy did something for us. The fact that something could get erased. Do you know what that does to you with the fear that something could get erased? You know what I
Okay.
mean? You know, it's like man, everything was precious to us, bro.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything was precious. There wasn't no Amazon to order it overnight and all of that. It wasn't none of that, man. You know,
Wow.
everything was precious. So that's a different situation. So of course they don't feel it because they got the convenience. I said it in one of my records. I said, now you saying home of hip hop and R&B, but just a few years ago you wasn't messing with me.
Right.
Like you know what I'm saying? But now all of a sudden, the home of hip hop and R&B, from where? Like you, the home of hip hop and R&B? No, I think not, because I don't see you playing 21 Savage. I wish I don't see you playing that. What happened, Black Radio? Ain't you black? Play 21 Savage. I wish it will change the mind of all these young people. You know what I'm saying? It will
Oh
change
man.
the mind of these young people. And he's Savage. He's the guy that make records with Drake and all of them. Yeah, all the young people know him. He's the one that got the baby with Lotto. Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
Got a record called I Wish. If that record went on Black Radio, it has that feeling of remember when the kids slowed they roll, when Hammer put that group out and they did this song's dedicated to my homies, with all them young kids was crying and stop killing each other, and that's what they was playing at their little homie's funeral. It was changing their life. It wasn't only self-destruction and all of that changing people's lives. It was little records like that was changing people. Brand Nubian, Slow Down, changing people's life. You know,
Wow.
they what happens is, you know, you see it with any product. If you go mass manufacture on any product, of course it's going to get cheaper, and that is what happened with us in records. I'm not going to say culturally in hip hop, but that's
Mhm.
another argument. But on records, that's what happened. That is exactly what happened. We not them kind of records. We not making it's probably I don't know. I only got one. I have one phenomenal analogy about today and yesterday.
Okay.
J. Cole is Bill Withers. I spent time with Bill Withers. J. Cole
Mm.
is Bill Withers. That's it. Nobody else matches. I can't match Buster. I can say, oh, Buster's James Brown. No, you're not. Like, J. Cole is Bill, but that's it. After him, what? Like I be looking. I be really looking. I listen to rappers all the time, and it's a bunch of records I love. It's a Trippy Red record that I could play for 3 hours driving. I love them all, but are you Rakim? No, sir, you're not. I'm
Mm.
sorry. Are you Special Ed? No, sir, you're not. I'm sorry. You're just not. You
Don't
don't even
start
want to
by
start.
apologizing about it.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
like I appreciate
yeah,
that you're being courteous, but we have to start by not being apologetic.
yeah.
If we want this thing to get fixed, we got to stare it in the face.
Yeah, and I think it's cyclical too, right? I mean, I do think
Let's
that things
hope.
come around. You know what I mean? I've seen it with technology. I work a lot in tech, and I keep telling people the phones will go big, and then they're gonna go small. We're gonna go through a whole bunch of phones, and then now people are gonna want a little phone. Like it's gonna, So it is cyclical. I just think that um and you could identify with this. My biggest pet peeve is this: when we were coming in this business, we knew we had to be on the radio with Melissa Morgan and be on the radio with Luther Vandross and be on the radio with Freddie Jackson. So the way we looked at our music, we looked at ourselves like musicians because we were going to be in the presence of musicians. So yes, we rapped on record, but it wasn't this big old moniker or this big floppy hat that says rapper. It wasn't that, because Luther didn't wear a big one that said singer.
Right.
Eric Clapton didn't wear a big one that says guitarist. We was just musicians.
Mm-hmm.
We rap, they sing, he plays the guitar, you play the drums, we musicians. And that is my biggest pet peeve, because they see themselves as rappers. And I'm listen, God bless the dead. Jam Master Jay was doing an interview. And the reporter says something about rap music. And Jay said, rap music? What is rap music? D and J could rap. He said running D could rap to polka if I play it on the turntables. Ain't no such thing. They could rap to anything I play.
It's music.
It's music. And that is my pet peeve because they see themselves as rappers, and that's why it sounds like that.
Mm.
That's why it sounds like that. Because come on, bro, bro. Listen, man. I was just talking to my friend. I said, listen, I've told all my kids, when I die, if somebody tells you Michael or Prince was the greatest, don't let them lie to you. Stevie's the greatest.
You done started a different debate.
Yeah, that's a different thing. But what I'm saying is, when you influenced by that type of musicianship, I don't care that I'm rapping.
Yeah,
Okay, I gotta try to be something. I gotta
yeah.
try to do something. I gotta try to elevate something because those guys, bro, you ever listen to the, I think it's 19 minute, the 19-minute version on the Hot Pants album of James Brown Escapism?
19 minutes of bliss. Well,
Bro,
if you think about it like that, it's like I I'm trying to say, if I'm going to be a rapper, that I deserve just as much vinyl as Stevie, as James Brown.
I
And,
mean, we was trying to make those records back then. I don't think anybody is trying to make those records now. I really don't. I even get mad at, before Robert got locked up, R. Kelly, I was mad at him. I'm still mad at Beyonce because I said, where's the Celine Dion in you? Right? And for Robert
okay.
Kelly, where the fuck is the Bing Crosby, the Dean Martin, the Dean Martin, Frank Sinatra in you? Like, when, at what point do you not let these little scissor and all of them, let them eat, let them get their little piece, and you go on to another level?
Hmm.
At what point do you? At what point? Because it just doesn't make sense. Everybody, listen. I used to tell my kids all the time, growing up, and they'll tell you this example. I said, people go in life. They believe at on the first floor it's 1 year olds. On the second floor it's 2 year olds. On the third floor it's 3 year olds, and all the way up. And then they think on floor 18 everybody up there, 56 is up there, 72. No, the shit keep going up, man. You know what I mean? And that's what I feel like that it's always going to be the enemy of the best is the good, and that's what they doing now. They're doing some good stuff. Rod Wave makes good music. Um, 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 um. I mean, I could mention so many of them. 21 Savage makes good music. Um, um, um. Uh, 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 uh the Don Tolliver makes good music. That's all good music, but it's not great.
Mm.
It's not. And when the great records come out, you hear them and you do it. And look, all of them go through it. Or they all go through. Taylor's going through it right now. Taylor made some great records in the last 4 or 5 years, and now she's trying to figure out, like, where do I go?
What's next? Yeah.
What do I do next?
Are you saying, though, that you don't think that anybody who you bring up Taylor Swift, are you saying that these artists now, nobody's thinking like, where is my songs in the key of life?
I don't think so. I don't think any of them is thinking that. I think maybe some of the soul singers, but I think that the soul singers might, and this is just a daddyism, they may have a issue with production, because we have to understand, like, the one thing about them guys, if you go back to them Stevies and them Smokey Robinson guys and them Gamble and Huff guys, man, they got the cats in the studio, man.
Yeah.
It ain't just a bass player, it's one of the cats.
Right. Yeah.
And when the cats is in the studio, it's gonna be magic.
Some
I
magic
mean,
happens. Yeah.
yeah, that's something else, man. You know what I mean? And that's my point. It's like, because most of them, no disrespect, they dealing with electronic musicians like myself. You know what I mean? Like I can make some records. The difference between me is I'll write the bass line and then I'll get a bass player to come in and play it. That's the difference between me and them. I'm not gonna forsake that for some damn Moog. Like, if he could play it, he's playing it because it's gonna feel better. I know. You know what I mean? But them, they making records, and I'm not saying the records don't sound. But I tell people all the time. I say, y'all think y'all irritated with the rap from these new rappers. I said, y'all are irritated.
Okay.
Y'all are irritated with the metronome.
Uh-huh.
It's too fucking perfect. That's how I could tell AI music. If my wife sends me something on Spotify, I
Right.
could tell if it's AI or not. Too
Yeah.
perfect.
It's not breathing.
Yeah. We got a little slip. And
Yep.
that little
Yep.
slip, that's where, I mean, come on, all of
That's
it that we
humanity.
got. Yes, that's James Brown. That's Average White Band. That's Wild Cherry. That's we got a little slip. It's just a little slip. It ain't. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I know because I DJ. Yeah, sometimes I could keep it in, but
Mm-hmm.
it's a little slip. But that little slip be funky, man. It be
Yeah.
so funky.
Mm-hmm.
It be so funky. That's why I say J. Cole, because J. Cole got that in him. He know what that little slip means. He knows what it's about. He gets it. And he doesn't go beyond like when Bill Withers. I never forget. I was talking to him. He said, I wrote everything. I ever sang, Daddy-O. He said the only thing I never wrote was Dadgummit. He said I was in the studio when I was making Who Is He and What Is He to You, and my friend
Mm-hmm.
said Dadgummit, and I said I'm gonna put that in the record.
Huh.
But it's the I don't know, the attrition, the concentration, the just the of like this lyrical content has to feel this way, and it's got to be people-ish, and it's got to be boom. And I can't care if James Brown is yelling and screaming at the top of the charts. I can't care if Stevie Wonder is running circles around people with his harmonica. I can't care if Diana Ross is killing the game. I gotta be Bill Withers. J.
Wow.
Cole is the only one with that energy. The rest of them get the fuck. Now I'm gonna tell you a talented boy. Probably the most talented rapper of the day is Tyler the Creator. By far.
Okay. All
By
right.
far. Yeah,
Now, how do you think he
Tyler
gets
is
there though? If he doesn't have
he
Bill Withers in him,
no, well,
what do you
he
think gets him
just
there?
Tyler's a different animal. Like he is, let me see, how do I describe his energy? It's a bit Jamesy, but it's sly-ish. That's what it
Okay.
is. It's sly-ish. Like I'm gonna say something, and guess what? You're not gonna be able to mess with it.
Hmm. Wow.
and that's what everyday people is. That's what thank you for letting me is. Like I know who I am. I'm James Brown. I'm this person. I'm that person. I know who I am, but what did I just hear when I heard If You Want Me to Stay? What did I just hear?
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Come on,
Yeah.
bro. Come
Those things
on,
that
man.
they sit on you for a minute, and sometimes you don't realize what you heard until much later.
Right, right. That's what I'm saying. So he got that. Tyler got that. He said a
Okay.
line where he said, I need God to play me in my biopic. What?
Yeah. I'm gonna have to sit with that for a minute.
Yeah. He's probably the most talented, I would say, out of all of the new guys because of
Yeah.
he it and it's organic. You know what I mean? It's not hidden behind auto tune or none of that. He's full voice. You know, and I mean I
Yeah.
think that's what it takes. I think we understood that probably mostly from Melly Mel that we were instruments in the weave of that music. Because Mel was probably the first guy that just ride up in that, like just ride up in that thing, you know,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Leave it running. Don't punch me in. I got this
yeah,
real quick.
like yeah. So you know what I
Man.
mean, and we understood, like, okay, that's what we have. Like other people have other things. They hit notes, they do whatever. This is what we have. You know what I mean? And now it's like Now that everybody could punch in, now that everybody could double, now everybody could throw auto tune on. Now it becomes a whole nother thing. You know, it's like probably how y'all felt about drum machines when they first came in. Cause there was a couple of people using them okay. Stevie and them, Dexter
Yeah.
Wanzel and them was using them okay. A lot of people was bullshit. And y'all are looking
Yes.
at it like, really?
Come on
You're
now.
playing, it's a metronome. That's all it is.
You're
I
right.
don't care
Right.
what they put
You
around it.
put a mic
It's
on the
still
metronome.
it's a duck, 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 and then they putting everything around it. I'm
uh,
like, man. So it's the same, you know what I'm saying? It's the same with us. And like now that's what it is for them. Like they don't yes, I listen to it all. I'm not saying I don't have any choice. I could listen to old school all day, but I call myself a Thursday night guy. Thursday night, midnight, when new records drop, I boom. Friday morning, I'm riding with these guys to the office. I say, hey, y'all know what it is. They young guys. They both under 30. I said, y'all know what it is. Future drop today. This Future Day. We listen to the Future album. I listen to the whole thing all the way through. I listen to everybody. I see what they doing. But I know, I tell you one thing, I might not even talk about it in the public, but I know what they doing wrong too.
mm,
I know what they doing wrong. And I get it, I understand it, and I see what you could get by with. And I will say something about all music. That's tailing them. That's all that pop music. That's all that. Besides for a couple of little genres, most people could get away with a lot of stuff now that they used to couldn't get away with. What
I
these
think
people are
that's
doing with AI, a lot of my
yeah, I
friends are
think that's
bringing
the
me these
overall
records.
message of what you're saying here.
Yeah,
But I will say
they.
this because we are, first, I want to say, like I said, I've been a fan since Blood, Sweat, and Tears.
Thank you,
And
sir.
I've been wanting to have this conversation with you for a long time, and I've been sitting on it thinking, what actually would I say? What would we talk about? So we're rounding third base on this conversation, which I sincerely hope is the first of many.
Yes, sir.
But
Yes, sir.
as we are, I'm going to ask you this because you've been through so much in this business, and the circumstance you just described is kind of a dire one, to think that there
Mm,
is no grand adventurer out there like Stevie who's going to draw his
mm.
sword on making this piece of greatness, whatever it is. Two-part question. Number one, do you think that it's a matter of circumstance in the way that music is made and pushed out so quickly now that we don't encourage that behavior? And number two, what makes you still wake up and want to create in this environment?
Um. So great question, and really good because I probably would have answered it the same way that you asked the second question. Um. So there's a guy I study. His name is Gerd Leonhard. He used to be in the music business. It's kind of how I got my digital swerve because he's so damn smart. I just take his shit and I look smart. Um, Gerd made a line. I don't know exactly how, so I say it in my own way. I'm paraphrasing, but we went from the connection to the connected, right? So the way I think about it is like we went from this Ma Bell thing of, I'm on the phone with you, you on the phone with me. Only other thing that we knew that was multi was party lines. Most of the time, party lines was, if you think of one ringy dingy, two ringy ding, and party lines, a lot of times wasn't even planned. They would just end up merging, right? And now we've gone to the connected, right? Where everybody now is online, push button away, all of those particular things. So what ends up happening is that swell created what I call a comment section, meaning we didn't really have any input on Diana Ross and the Supremes or um, Stevie or Sly or shit.
Right.
We could go a little further down, brass construction. We
Yeah.
didn't have no slave. I mean, we didn't have any influence on them. There was an inter kind of thing amongst them, they peoples, whatever. Then whatever they
Yeah.
doing with the label, how they doing it, boom. Yes, there's some interaction with fans in terms of a couple of little things that we might be doing, but you know, we didn't have that kind of influence. When you go to Connected now, the comment section rules it. Right. I never forget, man. Last year, 2 people called me. They both are from different parts of the country and they don't know each other. And they both said something about Mary. And they said, man, I seen this picture of Mary. I didn't even know it was Mary. And then my other man said it. Not like these are people that I don't even think would even be thinking, paying attention to Mary. But anyway, I said, it's them phones, man. I said, back in the day, man, Broadway, they used to tell you, don't read the reviews. Right? They would never let the actor read
Right.
the reviews. Don't read the
Uh-huh.
reviews. Just go out there the second night and bust ass. Now everybody looking at their phone and what people saying about them and all of that kind of stuff. So it creates a weird kind of vacuum. And can it be solved? Yes, I know it can be solved, but it's going to be solved on such an individual basis. It's going to look like it's going backwards because it's going to have to be one-on-one. We still going to have to get the benefit that we get is easier to talk to an artist now than it was. So the one-on-one back in the day would be you need to have his number. And if a whole bunch of people is calling his number, then you ain't even going to get through.
Right.
But at least with the Connected, you can. But that's the only way that it's going to work because people nowadays are being, like even with us, I could see, what I'm saying, being controlled by the companies because there's nothing else there, right? So whatever spot, I'm not saying they're vicious, but whatever Spotify decides to do, whatever Apple Music decides to do, if people are doing Tidal, I know some people do Amazon Music, whatever they decide to do, they can. I
Yeah.
mean, yes, we can surmise that yes, that there's some organic thing to the way they create the new Friday playlist or whatever, but we don't know. They could be doing it systematically. Like we don't know. You know what I mean? So the answer is gonna have to come from the artists wanting to be in touch with their fans and understanding that this is a time that you could take advantage of that I couldn't because I just had a bag on First Avenue at Tommy Boy that read fan mail. I could not talk to them at all.
Mm.
I couldn't talk to them in Kansas. I couldn't talk to them in Cleveland. I couldn't talk to them in Hawaii. Couldn't talk to them in Philly. I couldn't. The radio station didn't reach that far. And now
Okay.
that you can, you need to take advantage of it and start talking to them because if you don't talk to them, they're gonna lose. You're gonna lose them on something that comes across their timeline.
Yeah. Yeah. They're going to talk to somebody else.
Yeah, and they're gonna go down some stupid TikTok rabbit hole, and then that's it. You're done.
Wow. Wow.
And so and for me, um, what keeps me going is that like I feel like I've said this before, and Delight taught me this, and I did it on my last TED talk is about this. Um, you just gotta do it better than them. If you got beef about something that's out, if you think, oh, Future's whack, oh, Rod Wave is whack, oh, this one is whack, oh, Drake is whack, oh, Kendrick's whack, then make better records than Kendrick. That's all. Just beat them. And then everything goes back to normal. It's almost like stuff goes right back to normal now. But if you're gonna talk behind the scenes and try to find out who his baby mama is and put it in the internet and all of that, that's some weirdo shit, man. It's
Yeah.
weird, yo. They weird, and I don't relate because I tell them all the time. Look, I'm a musician. I don't really relate to y'all like that. Cliff Branch and them is my friends. I don't. Listen. I rap, but I'm not, man, bro. Rap is good, and I think we get in there. But bro, I just listened to a Miles record the other day, and I'm like, man, I'm never gonna fucking be there, man. Damn it!
Ah.
Like I'm never. What was that I just listened to, bro?
Yeah. 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 It's nobody moving somebody like that.
And but you know what? I could keep on trying though. I
Yes.
could keep on trying. I could keep on pushing it because we didn't. If we would have never had a Dexter Wanzel or a Stevie Wonder or some of these guys, if they didn't keep pushing, if they just looked and said, "Man, I just can't do what he do. I'm out."
Right.
You
Keep
know what I
pushing.
mean? Like, yeah, keep pushing, and that's the issue. And I just feel like that, so that's all I'm gonna do, man. I feel better now. I don't have to make everything, so I got a nice little stable of producers, and all I gotta do is write raps and record raps. I'm good with that.
You know what? That's a great place to conclude this conversation. My guest today, I've had the great pleasure and great honor of having Daddy O. And I'll say this, you are the man.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.